I used to believe that monsters only existed in fairy tales. The kind that hide under beds or lurk in dark closets. But I was wrong. Sometimes monsters were perfect smiles and live in perfect houses. With perfect lawns and perfect families. I should know. I grew up in one of those houses in suburban Connecticut, where every blade of grass seemed measured to perfection, and every window sparkled like diamonds in the morning sun. My name is Emily Mitchell, and this is the story I've kept locked inside for far too long. Our house sat on Maple Drive, where every season looked like a postcard. Spring brought cherry blossoms that decorated our driveway like pink snow. Summer filled the air with the smell of freshly cut grass and barbecues. Fall painted our world in gold and crimson. And winter wrapped everything in a pristine blanket of white. From the outside, we were the family everyone wanted to be. Dad was Richard Mitchell, the successful lawyer who never missed a little league game. Mom was Catherine Mitchell, the beloved elementary school teacher who baked cookies every Sunday. And then there was Jason, my older brother. 2 years older than me, captain of the football team. Straight A student, and the golden boy of Riverside High. Everyone loved Jason. Teachers would light up when they realized I was Jason Mitchell's sister. Neighbors would stop to chat with him as he washed his car in the driveway. Even the grumpy old Mr. Peterson next door would smile when Jason helped him with his groceries. He was perfect. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. I remember the exact moment when my world started to crack. It was during my 8th birthday party. Mom had organized a pool party in our backyard, complete with a unicorn-shaped cake and rainbow decorations. All my friends from school were there, splashing in the pool and playing Marco Polo. As the sun began to set and parents started picking up their kids, I went inside to change out of my wet swimsuit. That's when it happened. Jason followed me upstairs. "Hey, birthday girl," he said, standing in my doorway. "Need help with your towel?" Something about his smile felt different. Wrong. But he was my brother. My protector. The one who taught me how to ride a bike. Who scared away the neighborhood bullies. Who shared his Halloween candy with me every year. So when he stepped into my room and closed the door, I didn't think anything of it. I wish I had. That was the first time his touch lingered too long. The first time his hands went places they shouldn't. The first time I felt that knot in my stomach. The one that would become my constant companion for years to come. "This is what brothers and sisters do," he whispered. "It's our special secret." I was 8. I didn't know any better. But somewhere deep inside, in that place where truth lives before we have words for it, I knew something was terribly wrong. The next few years became a blur of normal days and terrible nights. Jason would wait until our parents were asleep, then creep into my room like a shadow. Sometimes he'd say he had a nightmare. Sometimes he'd say he just wanted to talk. But it was always the same. Always those unwanted touches. Always those whispered threats disguised as brotherly love. "You don't want to upset Mom and Dad, do you? This is what family does for each other. No one would believe you anyway." And he was right. Who would believe that Jason Mitchell, the perfect son, the star athlete, the future valedictorian, could do something so horrible? I tried to tell Mom once, in my own way. I was 13, and we were folding laundry together. "Mom," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Is it normal for siblings to be really close?" She smiled that warm, teacher smile of hers. Of course, sweetie. You're so lucky to have a brother like Jason. He looks out for you so much. The words died in my throat. My grades started slipping that year. I quit the swim team I once loved. Started wearing baggy clothes. Stopped inviting friends over. My parents blamed it on teenage hormones. My teachers suggested I might be depressed. No one saw the real reason. No one wanted to see. I created an Instagram account filled with perfectly filtered photos. Smiling selfies with Jason at family dinners. Group shots at football games. Hashtag best big brother, hashtag family first, hashtag blessed. Each hashtag felt like swallowing glass. But social media became my shield. A way to hide in plain sight. If I posted enough happy pictures, maybe I could convince myself they were real. The days blurred together in a haze of pretense. Wake up, check if the door was locked. Go to school, avoid Jason in the hallways. Come home, do homework in the library until dinner. Eat quickly, lock myself in my room. Pray he wouldn't come that night. Sometimes my prayers were answered. Most times they weren't. I started keeping a diary. Hidden beneath a loose floorboard under my bed. Dear diary, I wrote one night. Why does no one see? Why does no one hear my silence? I scream so loud in my head, but no one looks up. Jason got another award today. Mitchell Family Pride, Dad called it. I wanted to throw up. The pages filled with my silent screams. With the truth I couldn't speak aloud. Until that 4th of July. The summer I turned 16. The night everything changed. Our family hosted the annual neighborhood barbecue. Red, white, and blue decorations everywhere. The smell of grilled burgers and hot dogs filling the air. Mom's famous potato salad. Dad manning the grill in his Kiss the Cook apron. Jason charming everyone, as usual. As darkness fell, people gathered on our lawn for fireworks. The sky exploded with color. But all I could feel was dread. Because I saw the way Jason looked at me during dinner. That look had grown to fear. After the last guest left. After Mom and Dad went to bed. I heard his footsteps in the hallway. But this time was different. This time, something in me snapped. He found me in the garage, where I was supposedly getting more paper towels. Emily, he said, reaching for me. That familiar sick smile on his face. But this time, I didn't freeze. This time, I found my voice. No. The word exploded from me like those fireworks. Echoing off the garage walls. Jason stepped back, startled. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. If you ever touch me again, I heard myself say. My voice shaking but strong. I'll tell everyone. Everything. He tried to laugh it off, but the laugh was hollow. No one would believe you, he said, but his voice wavered. Try me, I whispered. Something had changed. The power had shifted, just slightly. But enough to make him back away. That night, I lay in bed, shaking but not from fear. From anger. From relief. From determination. I grabbed my phone and opened TikTok. Created a new anonymous account. And started typing. I have a story to tell. About monsters who look like brothers. About silence that feels like screaming. About surviving when no one knows you need to be saved. I hit post and watched the video counter tick up. 1 view. 10 views. 100. Then the comments started coming in. I thought I was alone. This happened to me too. Keep talking. We're listening. For the first time in 8 years, I didn't feel so alone. That was just the beginning. But it was my beginning. My first step toward the light. Away from the shadows that had defined my life for so long. I didn't know then how much would change. How many battles still lay ahead. Or how many others would join me in breaking their silence. But I knew one thing for certain. I would never be that scared little girl again. The monster in my house had lost its power. And I was finally ready to fight back. The comments kept coming, day after day. Each one a reminder that I wasn't alone in this fight. That's when I met Sarah online. She wasn't just another survivor. She was a police officer who specialized in family abuse cases. Your voice matters, she messaged me privately. What you're doing is brave, but you need support. She gave me the number for a counselor. Dr. Rachel Thompson, who specialized in trauma therapy. I saved the number but didn't call. Not yet. I wasn't ready. Instead, I threw myself into my TikTok community. My following grew from hundreds to thousands. Each video a piece of my truth carefully unveiled. I never showed my face. Just my hands writing in a journal. Or the view from my window. Or sometimes just darkness with my voice speaking softly. Jason noticed the change in me. The way I stopped flinching when he entered a room. The way I looked him in the eye now. It made him nervous. Good. Let him be afraid for a change. One night, I heard him pacing in his room. Back and forth, back and forth. Like a caged animal. The walls in our house were thin. Thin enough to hear his muttered words. She wouldn't dare. She can't prove anything. But I had proof. Years of diary entries. Dates, times, details that only a victim would know. And now, something else. Strength in numbers. My online community had become my army. Each survivor's story adding to our collective voice. Then came the night that changed everything. Mom was organizing old photo albums in the living room. Smiling at pictures of Jason's football games. My dance recitals. Family vacations where my smile never reached my eyes. Emily, she called out, come look at these. I sat beside her. The leather album cool against my legs. Remember this? She pointed to a photo. My 8th birthday party. The pool. The unicorn cake. My wet hair plastered to my face as I smiled at the camera. Jason standing behind me. His hand on my shoulder. Something inside me broke. I remember everything, Mom. The words came out before I could stop them. She looked up, confused by my tone. What do you mean, sweetie? And suddenly, I couldn't hold it back anymore. 8 years of silence came flooding out. I remember what happened after that party. I remember every night he came into my room. I remember begging God to make him stop. I remember trying to tell you, and you didn't listen. The photo album slipped from her lap. Pictures scattering across the floor like fallen leaves. Her face went white. Emily, what are you saying? Her voice was barely a whisper. Jason, your brother? Dad walked in then. Home early from work. He found Mom crying. Me shaking. And photos strewn everywhere. What's going on? His voice boomed through the room. So I told them. Everything. The birthday party. The late-night visits. The threats. The years of silence. Dad's face turned from confusion to disbelief to rage. Mom kept shaking her head, like she could erase my words if she tried hard enough. No, she kept saying. Not my Jason. Not my son. But deep down, I think she knew. Mothers always know, don't they? They just sometimes choose not to see. Jason came home from football practice to find Dad waiting in the driveway, Mom sobbing on the couch, and me, standing by the window, finally free of his shadow. What followed was chaos. Screaming. Denials. Accusations. Jason tried to play it cool at first. She's making it up. She's jealous of me. But his mask was cracking. Dad grabbed him by the collar, pushed him against the wall. Tell me it's not true, he growled. Tell me my daughter is lying. But Jason couldn't meet his eyes. And that said everything. Mom ran to the bathroom and threw up. I just stood there, watching my perfect family shatter into pieces. But broken things can be beautiful too. That's what Dr. Thompson taught me. When I finally called her the next day. Kintsugi, she explained in our first session, is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold. The breaks become part of the story, not something to hide. The next few weeks were a blur. Jason was sent to live with our aunt in Oregon, pending investigation. Mom took a leave of absence from teaching. Dad started drinking, then stopped when Mom threatened to leave. We all started therapy. Separately, then together. My TikTok followers watched as I continued to share. Now with a new message. Breaking silence breaks chains. Letters started arriving from other survivors. Some shared their stories. Some asked for advice. Some just said thank you. I read every single one. Sarah, the police officer, became my mentor. She helped me navigate the legal system, showed me how to file reports, how to protect myself and others. Your story isn't just yours anymore, she told me. It belongs to everyone who's ever felt voiceless. She was right. My pain was becoming purpose. My shame was becoming strength. But the hardest part wasn't telling the truth. It was learning to live with it. Learning to trust again. Learning to sleep without checking the locks 3 times. Learning to believe that not all love comes with conditions. Learning to forgive myself for not speaking sooner. Mom found my diary one day. The one hidden under the floorboard. She read it while I was at school. Then spent hours in my room, crying. When I came home, she held me so tight I could barely breathe. I'm sorry, she whispered over and over. I'm so sorry I didn't see. I'm sorry I didn't protect you. We cried together that day, mourning the childhood I lost. The mother she thought she was. The family we pretended to be. But we also began to heal. Slowly. Together. Dad threw himself into advocacy work, joining support groups for parents of abuse survivors. He spoke at community meetings, his voice shaking but determined. Watch your children, he would say. Listen to their silence. Question the perfect facades. Love them enough to see the truth. And me? I kept talking. On TikTok. In therapy. At support groups. Eventually, at schools and community centers. My voice grew stronger with each telling. My story became a lifeline for others. A way to say you're not alone. Without saying a word. The perfect house on Maple Drive doesn't look so perfect anymore. The lawn isn't as manicured. The windows aren't as sparkly. But it's more real now. More honest. And somehow that makes it more beautiful than perfection ever was. Jason writes me letters sometimes. From the rehabilitation center where he's getting help. I don't read them. Not yet. Maybe someday. But for now, I'm focused on my own healing. On helping others find their voice. On turning my pain into power. Because that's the thing about monsters in perfect houses. They only have power when we keep their secrets. And I'm not keeping secrets anymore. 3 years have passed since that 4th of July night. I'm in college now, studying psychology at Boston University. My dorm room walls are covered with notes from survivors. Artwork from healing workshops. And a framed screenshot of my first TikTok video. Sometimes I still wake up in cold sweats. Phantom footsteps echoing in my dreams. But now I know how to breathe through the panic. How to ground myself in the present. How to remind myself that I'm safe. Dr. Thompson calls it progress. I call it survival. My support group, Speak Your Truth, meets every Wednesday. In a small coffee shop near campus. We started with 5 people. Now we're 20 strong. Each face carries a different story. But our eyes all hold the same understanding. Last week, a freshman named Lucy joined us. She reminded me so much of myself at 16. Shoulders hunched, voice barely above a whisper. Trying to disappear while desperately wanting to be seen. I don't know if I belong here, she said. My story isn't as bad as others. I took her hand and told her what Sarah once told me. Pain isn't a competition. Your story matters because it's yours. Mom visits me every month. Bringing care packages and guilt-laden casseroles. She's different now. Softer around the edges. But stronger in her core. She volunteers at a crisis hotline. Using her teacher's patience to listen to broken voices. To hear what's hidden between stuttered words. Dad threw himself into legal advocacy. Helping families navigate the system. He once used to protect the wealthy. Money can't buy justice, he says now. But knowledge can demand it. They're divorced now. Not because of what happened. But because of what it revealed. Years of ignored red flags. Of chosen blindness. Of comfort in denial. They're better apart. Both growing into versions of themselves. They should have been all along. Last month, I got invited to give a TEDx talk. Breaking the perfect picture. The cost of family secrets. Standing on that red. Under those bright lights. I told our story to a room full of strangers. About the house on Maple Drive. About the brother who was everyone's golden boy. About the sister who learned to scream in silence. But mostly, I talked about healing. About how recovery isn't a straight line. But a spiral that sometimes brings you back. To where you started. Only stronger. The video went viral. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. Hundreds of messages. Each one a reminder that truth has power. That vulnerability can be strength. That one voice can echo in countless hearts. Sarah came to watch me speak. She's retired from the force now. but still works as a consultant, training officers to recognize the signs. We spend so much energy hiding. We had coffee afterward, and she told me something I'll never forget. You didn't just save yourself, Emily. You're saving others by showing them. How? Jason's last letter arrived yesterday. It's still unopened on my desk. His therapist says he's making progress. Accepting responsibility. Understanding the damage he caused. Part of me wants to read it. Part of me never will. And both parts are okay. Healing isn't about forgiveness on demand. It's about reclaiming your right to choose. My TikTok community has grown to millions. We call ourselves truth tellers now. Each post still starts the same way. I have a story to tell. But now, thousands of voices join in. Sharing their own stories. Breaking their own silences. Sometimes people ask me if I regret speaking up. If I miss the perfect family we pretended to be. I tell them about kintsugi. About how broken things mended with gold are more valuable than those that were never broken. I tell them about the strength in scars. The beauty in truth. The freedom in facing our monsters. Yesterday, I passed a house that looked just like ours used to. Perfect lawn. Perfect windows. Perfect family playing in the yard. For a moment, my chest tightened. But then I saw the little girl. Maybe 8 or 9. Look right at me with clear, fearless eyes. And I smiled. Because maybe, just maybe, she'll grow up in a world where secrets don't have power. Where monsters can't hide behind perfection. Where silence isn't the price of belonging. That's why I keep telling my story. That's why I keep listening to others. That's why I believe in the power of broken things made beautiful. Because sometimes the deepest wounds become the strongest bridges to healing. And sometimes the scariest truth to tell becomes the very thing that sets us free. I am Emily Mitchell. I am a survivor. I am a truth teller. And this is just the beginning. End.